Yeah, you can start.
Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you today for today's webinar on Launch Your Career in Drug Regulatory Affairs. Before we begin with the session, let me take a moment to introduce to you to Inorim Life Sciences. Inorim Life Sciences is an ISO certified consultancy and training organization specializing in regulatory affairs, intellectual property rights, pharmacovigilance, and market research for a wide variety of industries, including pharmaceuticals, biologicals, FMCG, herbals, cosmetics, medical devices, and narcotics and psychotropics. We assist with the regulatory compliance, IPR filings, pharmacovigilance activities, and market research solutions to various healthcare products such as APIs, pharmaceuticals, phytochemicals, biologicals, herbals, nutrients, and medical devices. More importantly, Inorim Life Sciences is dedicated to supporting the pharmaceutical industry and pharmaceutical profession in continuous education in the fields of regulatory affairs, IPR, pharmacovigilance, and market research. Now, without further ado, I would like to hand over the session to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Surya Patil, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Julie, for the introduction. So, we'll start our today's session. So, I will just introduce myself. So, I'm Sunil Patil. I'm the co-founder of Inorim Life Sciences, and I'm having almost 10 plus years of experience in the field of regulatory affairs. So, I have done masters in pharmaceutical analysis. So, from last 10 years, I'm working for regulatory affairs only for the Europe, UK, and ROW markets. So, let's start our today's session. Launch your career in drug regulatory affairs. So these are our points of discussion for today's session. So we will be focusing mainly on structure of pharma industry, how regulatory affairs is associated with all other pharma departments or pharma companies departments. Then we'll just uh, give brief introduction of regulatory affairs. Then what are the basic objectives of regulatory affairs? What types of roles and responsibilities of regulatory person is having? Then different terminologies in regulatory affairs. Then the teams, different teams and salary ranges in regulatory affairs department, and emerging trends and future trends in regulatory affairs. So let's start with the basic of pharma industry. So you might be knowing all these departments, or somebody is working in like QC, QA, or production, or legal team. So the purpose of giving just brief scenario of these departments is most importantly how it is associated with the regulatory affairs department, or why these departments are important. Because regulatory affairs is one of the department which is connected with all these departments in terms of like whatever documents you need from production, or you are dealing with business development, sales and marketing team, or R&D, like what types of projects they are developing, or which product project is upcoming for the filing or registration. Then from production you need these BMR, PPRs, or developments, or whatever certificate of analysis, then whatever process validation related to your manufacturing process. So all these things you need to understand, like from which department you need what type of document. So that's why these departments are important. So production, R&D, sales and marketing. So again, in regulatory affairs there are different types of markets which we will discuss, like Europe, US, and rest of the world, that is ROW market. Then we are having QC department, which is associated with the production department for testing, like how the test of the products is done in
Sir,
QC department. And
can you
yeah,
turn on your slideshow mode?
can you see now? I have already kept it on.
No, sir.
I hope it's, is it on now? I hope
So the
you can.
slides are visible, but it is not on the slideshow mode.
I hope it's visible because I can see slideshow
Share
mode.
full screen, sir.
Okay, 1 second. I hope it's visible now. Can you see full screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry, my apologies. So we'll continue with the QC department. So we were talking about quality control department, how this QC is important for generating documents in terms of the testing. So the commercial batches or bulk scale batches which are having the results or validation studies, so they need for the submission purpose. Then quality assurance, which is important for documentation, so entire documentation is controlled by quality assurance department. Then pharma industry is having this legal and IPR department, which is mainly for patent filings, trade secrets or trademarks. So we can file our intellectual properties in terms of this IPR. Then purchase and stores, so whatever material is going for the manufacturing of finished product or API, so this purchase and store is mainly the department is associated with the documents associated with these APIs or raw materials. So we need COAs of these APIs, raw materials for the filing. So that's why these departments are very important for regulatory submissions or filings. So this is just a brief overview of the different departments which are associated with regulatory. Now coming to the introductory part of regulatory affairs. So what exactly regulatory affairs is and how it is important in any pharma industry. So you might be knowing or somebody is having idea or someone is already associated with the regulatory API or formulation teams. So regulatory affairs is the bridge between manufacturer and health agency or health authority. So let's say anybody is saying that he is working in UK market or Europe market. So that means they are dealing with the European agency or UK MHRA or this US FDA. So that is what the bridge between that pharma company and the health agency or health authority. So, what are the different domains covered in the regulatory affairs department? So, in regulatory, there are pharmaceuticals, biological or biotechnological products, then medical devices, foods and cosmetics, veterinary products, and herbal products. So, for all these products, there are different regulations. So, let's say I'm talking about pharmaceuticals. So, there are different set of guidelines which are available on the US FDA portal, and if you are intending to file cosmetic product in the same market US, so for that again there are different guidelines. So quality control wise or research and development batches, so total scenario is different for cosmetics and these pharmaceutical products or even for biological products. But in terms of stringency or strictness of the documents, so US FDA and European Medicines Agency, which are having very stringent regulations for submitting or filing your product. So, which are the important health authorities like the markets, regulated markets, semi-regulated markets, or we can say ROW markets? So, worldwide, if you are working in like US FDA or Europe market, UK market, Canada market, or Australia market, so these are considered one of the most stringent or regulated markets. So their health agencies, like for US FDA, there is US FDA. For Europe, there is European Medicines Agency. For UK, Medicines and Healthcare Regulatory Agency. For Canada, there is Health Canada, and for Australia, Therapeutic Goods Administration. Now, this is about the health agencies. Now, what type of scope of this regulatory affairs in the pharma field, or what will be the future of regulatory affairs? Now, according to a report given by this IQVIA, so like, there are different organizations which are collecting data, and they are just analyzing what is the market trend, which types of products are usually filed, what is the market capital of those products, which companies are on the top for filing or getting approvals from the US FDA or European Medicines Agency. So, according to this IQVIA, the global pharma market reached 1.27 US dollars, 1.27 trillion US dollars in 2020, and is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 3 to 6% between 2021 and 2025. So, according to report by Grandview Research, the global regulatory affairs outsourcing market size was valued 6.3 billion US dollars in 2020 and is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 12.1% from 21 to 2028. Now, coming to the objectives, or we can say roles and responsibilities of regulatory affairs person. So what exactly regulatory person do in API team or formulation team? So they provide strategies and technical advices. So to whom they provide these strategic advice or the submission strategies? So internal departments. So we can say they are providing strategies for submissions to R&D team, QC team, production team, like what would be the next product for manufacturing they should take. So likewise, the strategies are usually prepared by RA person or RA head, then file products in different markets. So if the person is specifically working in Europe market, UK market, so for that particular market, they need to refer the guidelines of those health authorities, and they need to prepare the submission documents for that particular market. Then approval from the regulatory bodies, so keep track of those approvals. So let's say one of the product was submitted last year, so whether that company got approval for the particular product or not. So RA person needs to follow with the health agency if they are not getting any response for the submitted documents. Then track changes in legislation, so keeping track of all these documents, so which product was submitted when and when it was approved, when the renewal is due, or whether there is any concern in the market for that product or any side effects. So all these records should be tracked by regulatory person. Then interpret and apply regulations. So let's say there is any amendment or update in the guideline, so how that is impacting on the current product or whatever products are available in the market for that company. So that regulatory person will be responsible for interpreting and applying the regulations. Then development and implementation of regulatory strategies. Let's say for any biological product, what should be your pathway for the submission or these regulatory filing. So that implementation of this regulatory strategy, that should be checked by the RA person. Then collect and evaluate scientific data. So that slide which we discussed, structure of pharma industry, so regulatory is associated with the different departments. Now let's say any document is coming from production department or QC department, so what you need to extract from that department, what will be your analysis based on the document shared by QC team or production team, so that you need to evaluate and exactly what you want for the submission from that particular document. Then performance improvement of existing functions and activities, so whatever ways we are following, so how that we can streamline or we can improve for the submission, so that maximum products will be filed in that particular country or market. Then training resources sharing, so usually for all these guidelines, so we are referring numerous guidelines for the regulatory filings like ICH guidelines, US FDA guidelines for bioequivalence, then for product development, for stability, for validation. So all these guidelines, so regulatory person is usually keeping track of these changes if there is any amendment changes done, and they are usually providing the trainings to internal departments like QC, production, R&D if there is any update. Then advice to internal colleagues, so let's say for developing any product, capsule or tablet or any semi-solid or parenteral, so whether that product is viable or commercially launched, can be launched or not, so that strategy is also given by the regulatory person. So these are few regulatory affairs objectives. Now, based on these objectives, so regulatory person is mainly working on the specific documents, or we can say terminologies. So these terminologies are usually referred in the regulatory affairs department, and how these terminologies are associated with other departments. So there is dossier, DMF, that is drug master file, then CTD is there, ECTD, NDA, ANDA, or MA. So what are these terminologies and why these terminologies are important? If any person is interested in the regulatory affairs, or any person is working, so they need to know thorough things, what types of documents are there in the dossier or drug master file. So these terminologies are very important if you are interested in the regulatory affairs department. So if you see the meaning of dossier, so dossier is a set of technical document which is mainly for quality, safety, and efficacy. So what types of documents are there in quality section? So usually in quality section, we are including documents like your stability report, validation reports, then specification is there, your analytical test procedure is there, then pharmaceutical development report is there. So all these documents are your quality documents. So mainly validation and stability related documents, which are very important for these quality documents. Then in terms of safety and efficacy, if your product is totally new, so for such products we are submitting this clinical trials data, right, for new drug applications. And for generic products, we need to submit bioequivalence studies. So safety and efficacy documents which you need to prepare based on specific guidelines. So as per ICH guidelines, so there are mainly four types of guidelines: quality, safety, efficacy, and multidisciplinary. So for safety and efficacy studies, how your clinical trials should be performed. So as per E series and S series guidelines, so E6 guideline which is related to good clinical practices, then in S series guidelines, you are having genotoxic impurities assessment, carcinogenic impurities assessment documents. So these are the safety and efficacy related guidelines, and based on these guidelines, you need to prepare the specific reports, safety and efficacy reports, which you need to submit in the dossier. So there are like different modules. If you see this triangle, so your safety and efficacy documents are submitted in module 4 and 5 mainly. Then second terminology which is there in regulatory affairs is drug master file. So what is this drug master file? So this is set of API documents. So specifically, you need to include API document, active pharmaceutical ingredients document, in the DMF. So DMF is the part of your dossier. So dossier is the set of entire modules, like here starting from your module 1 to module 5, but DMF is the part of your dossier. So usually we submit DMF in the module 3. So that's why we are saying DMF is the part of dossier. Then next terminology is CTD and eCTD. So common technical document or electronic common technical document. Now, if we consider module 1 to module 5, so this is your CTD. Common technical document is nothing but you are starting from module 1 documents to module 5 documents. You are including all the quality, safety, and efficacy document. So what is this eCTD? So CTD is the PDF format which you are converting into the electronic format. So why there is need of conversion of your CTD into eCTD format or PDF files into electronic format? So usually the health authorities, they are using different types of softwares in which you can easily upload your files, converted files, electronically converted files. And for the conversion of these files, companies are using different softwares. So some of the softwares we can say eCTD Manager, PharmaReady, then Edus is there, Lawrence is there. So these are some softwares which are commonly used in almost all pharma companies. So based on like features or based on the cost, company may use any one software for the conversion. So that is regarding CTD and eCTD. Then what is this new drug application, abbreviated new drug application, or marketing authorization application? Now, if we are submitting any new application in the sense that application is totally new, or you can say patented product or branded product. So that is what your new drug application, and in which you are submitting clinical trials. So the clinical trials, along with this patented or branded product, you are submitting in US or Europe. So that application is usually known as new drug application. Then abbreviated new drug application. Now we know that usually the validity of any patent is 20 years. So after the expiry of that patent, usually any company can manufacture that product and register that as a generic product in that particular market after expiry of the patent. So such applications which we are submitting in the US, I'm saying only in the US. So those are known as ANDA applications, abbreviated new drug application. And the same generic formulation, if we are submitting in the European countries, so that is usually known as marketing authorization application. So any generic product which we are intending to submit in the US, that is known as abbreviated new drug application. And if we are submitting any generic application in the European Union, that is usually known as marketing authorization application. So this MAA is applicable only for the European Union. Now, different teams and salaries in regulatory affairs department. So this is just for your information, like what types of teams are there, or different departments, or company wise there might be different designations you can see, like whenever you are checking any vacancy. So usually we can see regulatory affairs officer, regulatory affairs executives, or specialist, or manager. So that is totally based on your experience. Now on the left hand side, if you see, there are different divisions or subdivisions, we can say, in the regulatory affairs itself. So regulatory business development, regulatory strategy, regulatory intelligence, regulatory affairs, CMC. Then a regulatory licensing team is there, regulatory labeling team is there. Then publishing, regulatory publishing team is there, regulatory life cycle management. Then regulatory compliance, which is mainly associated with the regulatory audits. Then clinical regulatory, which is there. So all these departments are mainly based on the company. So if you are working in like bigger companies or bigger brands like Cipla, Pfizer, Glenmark, so they are having designation starting from trainee, then officer, executive, specialist, manager, and then regulatory head, or president, vice president, regulatory affairs. So all these teams, or you can say designations, are depending on the company in which you are working. Let's say you are working in any small scale industry, so you may be working as a manager for that company still if you are having 4 to 5 years of experience. So it totally based on the that company, whether it is MNC or a small scale or large scale industry. Then product portfolio, like what types of products they are having, if they are having multiple range products or different divisions of the products or verticals they are having. So there may be chances of different designations you are having. So mostly CMC and publishing team, these are the major teams in any pharma company. So you will get these teams for sure, CMC and publishing team, because publishing team is responsible for your CTD to eCTD conversion, and CMC team is mainly for the compilation of all these models, model 1 to model 5, right? So that is what CMC and publishing team. So if you see the salary ranges in India for regulatory affairs department, so usually if any person is having 8 to 10 years of experience, so he or she may get a package in between 12 to 20 lakhs. And designation or job title wise, if you see, if you are starting as a fresher, so you may get package starting from 3 to 5 lakhs, or after having 3 to 4 years of experience. So again, it depends on the company, like your increment cycle, if there is increment every year, like 5 to 10%, 15%, or based on your performance. So you can reach up to manager level or head regulatory if you are having more than 10 to 12 years of experience, and the salary or package which you may get. Okay, now we'll discuss specifically the important teams, whatever teams we listed here. So, which teams are doing what types of activities? So, if you say regulatory business development team, which is mainly responsible for conducting market research and analysis to identify potential clients. Okay, so partners or projects that require regulatory expertise or solution. So, this regulatory business development team is mainly involved in the analyzing data or market research or collecting data for regulatory purpose only. Then building and maintaining relationships with key stakeholders such as your regulators, industry associations, clients, and prospects. So usually, this regulatory business development team is there in consultancy firms, mainly the companies who are consulting in the field of regulatory. So this business development regulatory team is associated with such consultancy firms. Then preparing and delivering proposals, presentations to their clients. So let's say we are working for Cipla or Glenmark, so we need to give brief about whatever submissions we did for that company in the previous quarter or previous month or in the previous year. So likewise, these upcoming proposals, what types of submissions they can focus on. So such proposals, presentations, these consultancy firms needs to be. Then negotiating and closing contracts and agreements. So whatever agreements or negotiations they are doing with the client, mainly a manufacturer, So that is what negotiating and closing contracts. So regulatory business development is a function that involves identifying and pursuing new opportunities for growth and innovation in the regulatory affairs field, like any submission pathway. So how they can streamline that pathway, how they can submit faster than the traditional ways for the submission or compilation in terms of softwares, if they are using any software for the compilation or finding errors in the dossier. So that is what the business development regulatory team. Now, next is regulatory strategy team. So this regulatory strategy team is mainly responsible for preparing submission strategies. So what should be the company strategy for targeting specific molecule or specific product? Let's say any company is intending to submit an anti-cancer product. So what types of anti-cancer products are already there in the market, and whether those products were submitted with the pathway. Now there are different pathways or legal basis. So if you are submitting under generic submissions or generic hybrid submissions or well established use applications, so these are the different pathways in which you need to select your specific pathway. So let's say you are having bioequivalent studies, so in that case you need to submit it as a generic application. If you are submitting it as a well established use application, in that case no need to include your bioequivalent study. So in such case you can just include the literature data or literature articles, whatever articles are available for that product. So regulatory strategy is department which is responsible for preparing strategic and technical guidance on regulatory requirements. So you can see here conducting regulatory intelligence and research, developing and implementing regulatory strategies for new and existing products, communicating and negotiating with regulatory agencies. So if you are communicating with any agency in terms of let's say whether there is bioequivalent study required for that particular product, so such communications you are scheduling or scientific meetings you are scheduling with the health authority. So that is one of the purpose you are saying for this regulatory strategy team. Then evaluating the impact of regulatory changes on the product. So as we discussed in the introduction, if there is any change or amendment in the guideline, so how that guideline is impacting on your existing product. So whether you need to update your documents if there is change in the legislation or amendment or update in the guideline. So that is what the function of regulatory strategy department. Now, regulatory intelligence department. Now, this regulatory strategy, based on the regulatory strategy, this regulatory intelligence department is responsible for providing strategic and technical guidance. So, whatever training sessions they are conducting for the internal teams, let's say for update or change in the legislation, you need to provide training to your QC or formulation team. So how you should prepare, what types of guidelines or what types of presentation points you should include for your internal teams, whether the product related issues you need to focus or there are any side effects of your product, so how those can be minimized. So such strategies are focused with this regulatory intelligence department. Then the core regulatory. So as we discussed in the different teams, that your CMC and publishing team, which are very important for any regulatory department or any pharma company. So these two teams in the regulatory affairs, your CMC team and publishing team, which are very, very important. So CMC refers to the like, chemistry, manufacturing and controls, right? CMC, the full form of CMC is chemistry, manufacturing and controls. So what types of raw materials you are using, whether it is of synthetic origin or natural origin, so that is your chemistry. Manufacturing is your what type of manufacturing process you are using. Let's say for tablet, whether it is wet granulation, dry granulation or direct compression is there, or for parenteral, so whether lyophilization is used or the normal mixing or the other manufacturing processes you are using. So that is what manufacturing. And controls means what types of test you are doing for that product. Let's say it is tablet, so what types of specification parameters you should include. So this is what your core CMC or core regulatory team. So conducting regulatory intelligence and research, preparing and reviewing CMC sections. Now, whenever I am saying CMC sections, it is specifically your quality document. So जो भी quality documents we are covering, like your validation reports, stability studies, specification, test procedures. So all these documents are nothing but your CMC documents. Then communicating and negotiating with regulatory agencies. So whatever communications we are doing, so what types of guidelines you need to follow, or whether that is submitted as a generic product or well established use application. So that communication you need to do with the health authorities if you are working in core CMC department. Then monitoring and evaluating the impact of CMC regulatory changes or developments. So you need to just keep track of all these guidelines. Continuously, you need to check the health authorities portal if there is any change in the guideline or not. So that is the basic functions. So along with that, core regulatory team is involved in the labeling activities or artwork related activities. So whenever any product is coming in the market, so you need to check the contents on the label and carton as well. So whatever bottles or these containers we are using, so what types of directions, storage conditions, or contents we are mentioning, so that you need to check properly. Then regulatory publishing involves preparing and submitting regulatory documents. So you need to deal with the publishing team as well. If you have compiled that dossier with the CMC or whatever knowledge you are having, so you need to deal with the publication team also for these publication related or publishing related issues. So if they are facing any issues in the files, whatever files you have compiled, so that can be sorted with the regulatory publishing or regulatory operations team. Now, that is regarding your basic regulatory teams, what types of teams we are having and what functions they are doing. Now, based on these, what types of functions can be improved or activities can be improved in the regulatory department with the help of nowadays there are different softwares or tools which we are having. So one of the tool is artificial intelligence. As we know that AI has changed a lot of uh, activities in pharma industry as well. So this because of this artificial intelligence and machine learning, there are different softwares which are coming. So you can automatically select your products dossier criteria or what types of submissions we can do. So that analysis is done by AI. And even the compilation activities, nowadays there are so many softwares which are automatically converting your CTD into eCTD formats. So that is one of the application we can say because of this AI. But along with that, there are different tools or systems we can say which are also important. So starting from real world evidence. So whatever dossiers we were having previously, so we are so previously it was PDF submission. So you need to submit as such CTD dossiers to health authorities. But after that, eCTD came into picture. So जो भी CTD is there in the PDF format, that is converted into electronic format. After that, this IDMP came. So IDMP is basically identification of medicinal product. So which types of products you can target, or what types of products are demanding in the market, or which are having demand in the market, or maximum those will be sold in the market. So this identification of medicinal products also we can do with the help of different softwares, and only those products we can target for developments. So whatever products we are developing in R&D or formulation development department, so those can be submitted with the data, whatever data is generated by this production QC team, and that can be done with the help of this identification of medicinal product. Then we are having internet of things and internet of behavior. So what is this internet of things and internet of behavior? So internet of things are if you are like treating any product as a physical evidence, or if you are meeting your different stakeholders or internal teams for resolving issues, so that can be considered as a internet of things. And what types of tools you can use for such physical meetings or documents which you are sharing physically, that is what internet of things. Internet of behavior is nothing but, so based on those physical activities, whatever the application of those documents or applications of those systems or implementation of those systems, so that can be done with the help of internet of behavior. Then big data and blockchain. So this big data and blockchain is usually based on market research and data analytics, which are also like emerging trends we can say in the regulatory affairs field. So a regulatory person needs to compile or analyze data, what types of documents are available for particular product, and based on that analysis or market research, they need to uh, target that product's submission or developments in that particular pharma company. Then artificial intelligence and machine learning. So as we discussed, based on all these softwares, your entire dossier is converted into different modes or error-free submissions we can do with the help of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So, which skills any person should have if any person is interested for the regulatory affairs department? So, what types of knowledge he should or she should gain while studying or while doing bachelor's or master's? So, very important thing is communication and writing skill. So, if you want to enter in the regulatory affairs field, so you should have good communication skills and writing skills. So writing skills in terms of you need to write these quality, safety and efficacy sections. So for that purpose you should have these writing skills. So it should not happen that you are just copying whatever data is provided by your internal stakeholders and you are just copying and pasting it in the word files and converting into PDF. So that is not the case in the regulatory affairs department. You should have good writing skills. You should analyze that data, and based on your analysis you need to convert that into the submission formats. So that is the first thing. Critical thinking and problem solving skills. Now critical thinking, again based on the documents, whatever documents you are having from different stakeholders, you need to analyze, you need to think what can be updated in that document, because you can't submit as such. You need to convert it into specific format. So there are different templates for submission, like this for CTT submissions starting from your model 1 to model 5. There are different formats. So you need to think, you need to solve some of the queries if there are any queries in that document. So you can just discuss with your internal stakeholders how that can be sorted. So that is what your problem solving skill. Intermediate computer skills. So obviously if nowadays everything is based on AI and softwares, so that computer knowledge is must if you want to enter in the regulatory affairs field. Then dedication to fine detail. So anything whatever you are reading on the health authorities portal or any PDF or any guideline you are referring, you need to go through in detailed guidelines. It should not happen that you are just superficially going and pointing the specific headings, and based on that you are saying that this can be done like this or like that. That should not happen. For regulatory affairs you should have these skills, like you should review that document in detail so that you will get the exact pathway, exact flow of the submissions. Then V-shaped learning. So what is this V-shaped learning? Now in V-shaped learning, this is the simultaneous or parallel activity we can say. So how it is parallel activity? So whenever any formulation development team is developing the product, so this is just one example, you can correlate it with the regulatory affairs also. So for formulation development team, if they are developing a product, so simultaneously they need to check what types of new guidelines available for that same product, the product which they are developing, whether they are going on the right track or path. So that they need to check simultaneously. So that first is whatever product they are developing or studies they are doing, they need to cross check based on the US FDA guidelines, based on the regulatory authorities, other countries regulatory authorities. So that is what V-shaped learning. So these are the most important skills that person should have who is interested in the regulatory affairs department. Now, so for entering in the regulatory affairs department, so you might be having questions. So whether there is any need of the course or any knowledge gain is required or knowledge gaining is important for the regulatory affairs department. So yes, if you are having any uh, additional courses along with your bachelor's or along with your degree, so there will be definitely a like different impact that you should have certificate course or any course. So we are also offering some courses. So these are some courses which we are offering. So for the regulatory affairs team or department, we are mainly having short-term courses of 3 months and 6 months. Then we are having postgraduate diplomas in global regulatory affairs, which is also of 6 months, and certificate course in intellectual property rights, pharmacovigilance. And we are also having some upcoming courses which we are most probably starting from the next month, like certificate course in market research, certificate course in data analytics, and certificate course in artificial intelligence in healthcare industry. So this is what about the regulatory of pharmaceutical products. Now the next session would be taken by our colleague, Dr. Vijay Sonar. So he will give you a overview of medical devices industry and how regulatory affairs for these medical devices is there. So over to you, Dr. Vijay Sonar.
Okay, thank you, Sunil. Thank you very much. And uh, thanks for calling me on the stage. So, my name is Vijay Sonar, and I'm working with Sunil since last 12 years, I guess.
Yeah.
We are colleagues, we are friends, we are brothers since last 12 years. Yeah, so thank you, Sunil, for the invitation, and I'm happy to work with Andarim again, once again. Uh, about myself, I have done my graduation in pharmacy, then master's in pharmacy and quality assurance. Then I worked with Johnson and Johnson, which is a giant player in the medical device industry. And then I did my PhD from Italy. I was there for 3 years from Life and Drug Sciences. And then I started my career in the domain of regulatory affairs. I'm working with Handler in Life Sciences since last 6 year as a consultant and advisor. And now currently I'm working as an assistant manager in the Merrill Life Sciences, which is the largest manufacturing company of India. I would say it is the number one company of India in medical devices in terms of manufacturing volume and the product ranges. And I'm working currently for the ROW market, particularly South Korea, China, Canada, and Asia Pacific countries. So, if you look at the title of my first slide, medical devices, the future of health industry. As Sunil explained you very well, uh, or the topic of this webinar is launch your career into the drug regulatory affairs. I would like to slightly modify this title. I'm sorry, Sunil, for this, but I would say launch your career into regulatory affairs of healthcare industry. Because I remember when we start our journey in pharmacy, and on the very first day, on the very first lecture of your pharmacy, your tutor taught you that pharmacist is a healthcare professional. I hope you all are agree with this. That we all are healthcare professional, and I insist all the students, all the audience who is attending the session, why only for pharma or drug industry? Being a pharmacist, being a healthcare professional, we should be, explore all those areas of healthcare industry because whatever volume in terms of finance, in terms of money you say, or the expenditure that entire world is spending on health is not only drugs, it is also cosmetics, it is also many chemical industries, and there is also many medical device industry. Sunil, please go to the next slide. So in this presentation, and I'll just try to give you a brief idea about the industry of medical devices. We will see what is the medical devices, the definition of it, as per the different regulations like MDR of CDSCO, MDR, EU MDR, and then US FDA. Then we will try to analyze in one slide what is the global market of medical devices. I remember Sunil have said it is 6 billion for pharma market, right? So you will see the figures for the medical device industry, how big it is and how rapidly it is growing. Then we'll see the top 10 medical device players in the world, and we will see what are the challenges and opportunities in the MD industries. And to conclude the session, as this webinar is based on RA as a career option in medical devices, or I would say rather in the healthcare industry. Please, next slide, Surin. So, what is medical devices? Okay, before I go to the technical definition, I will just like to give some examples. Like whenever you go to doctor, you see, doctor is having his bed, doctor is having some needles, he is having some syringes, he is having the beds, he is having the wheelchairs, he is having stethoscope, he is having thermometer, he is having scissors, he is having some needles and sutures, he is having some scalpels, he is having some sharp knives. Okay, and you'll be surprised all these comes under medical devices. So if you see, a doctor who is, diagnosing your disease, treating your disease, he is equipped with all the medical devices. And any surgical process has to be done. There will be medical devices. So you can imagine how big this medical industry is. Even the surgical dressing, the bandages, normal bandage you use, that all all comes under the definition of medical devices. So whatever definition you are seeing on the screen, it is according to the medical device rules 2017 India. So if you read the MDR 17 Act, you will see this definition. And again, I have just taken a few part of it because the definition which is given in the actual law is again broad, and it has some meaning to deal with. So, what are medical devices? They are the substances used for the diagnosis and surgical dressing, surgical bandages, surgical stapler, surgical sutures, ligatures, blood and blood components, component collection bags with or without anticoagulants. Or this is the definition of medical device as per the MDR 2017. Again, if you see the original act, the definition is given, a huge sections are given, because whenever the act is written, they had to be very specific. Okay, go to next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, my camera was switched off, so I kindly accept my apology. Then this is the definition of medical devices as per the EUMDR. So am I audible to you? Let me know. Someone can
Now,
drop a message in chat or
now,
let me know this. Am I
yes,
audible
now you are
now,
audible.
Sunil?
Yes, yes, you are
Okay,
audible now.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you. So medical devices is like it's any instrument, any apparatus or appliances, software, implant, reagent material, or other article intended by the manufacturer to be used alone or in combination for human beings for one or more of the following applications. For example, diagnosis, prevention, monitoring, prediction, prognosis, treatment, or elevation of any disease, or diagnosis, monitoring, treatment, elevation of, or compensation for any injury or disability, or investigation, replacement, or modification of the anatomy or physiology, or the process of pathological or any state. So this is the definition of medical devices as per the EUMDR. Sunil, next slide, please. And this is the definitions of medical devices as per USFDA. Now, you may have surprised that why I am showing you the same definition again and again. The thing is key, a device or which item has to be called device is mentioned differently in different acts, and we have to understand what is the exact meaning of medical device and under which category it falls. Category, I mean to say, the devices are classified as like class 1, class 2, and class 3, or class A, B, C, and D type of devices. We will see this in maybe in upcoming sessions. Uh, Say, for example, if you see the definition of medical devices as per USFDA, and if you read the last paragraph, it should not achieve its primary intended purpose through chemical action, like for example, drug, or it should not, dependent on any chemical being metabolized for the achievement of this. Okay, so it should not fall under drug category, because if you see all these three definition, and if you see the definition of drug as per different acts, they are very similar. There is invisible boundary between the definition of drug and medical devices. Okay, but of course there is a clear distinct line between the regulations of drugs and the medical devices. So then next slide, please. This is what the global market of medical devices. If I'm not wrong, Sunil was saying that the market was around 6 billion, right, Sunil, for drug products or pharmaceuticals. Sunil, can you confirm the amount that you said? What is the market share of pharmaceuticals in last
Yes,
year?
yes, that's right. That's right.
It was 6 billion, you said, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Now,
right.
if you are in the session from the beginning, and if I'm able to recall, as Sunil said that the 6 billion US dollar was the market of pharmaceutical products, right? And look at the figures: 542.21 billion in last year. What is the volume of the sales and what is the volume of market? Okay, this year it is going to be 572.31 billion. Okay, and in next 5 or 7 years it is going to be touch almost $1,000 billion, or if I want to be very specific, it is 886.68 billion US dollar. So as I said, if you are able to recall my first slide, medical devices, future of healthcare industry. So $6 billion, which is the total volume of pharmaceuticals drug products, and 542 or 572, or for the matter $800 billion for medical devices, and is growing at a market rate, at a compound annual growth rate of 6.5%. For pharma it is 12%, but percentage is again confusing. But if you see the total volume of medical devices in by next 5 to 7 years, it is going to be more than $1,000 billion, believe me. Now, the sad part is that the North America is the key player, or the major stakeholder for medical devices, and in India we still lags behind, because maybe the lack of awareness, or maybe lack of technologies, or lots of lack of financial support, because medical device industry is too big, and is too expensive. Okay, so if you see the share of North America, it is nearly 38% in last year, and in terms of volume, it is 197.83 billion last year. Okay, and this year it is going to be again to 200 billion US dollar. So yeah, this is how the scenario is. And if you see the top 10 medical device industry, out of top 10, you will see maybe 8 or 7 or 8 industries are from USA and North America. So these figures are, I think, enough to to understand, or to see the opportunity, or to see the potential of MD industries. Next slide, please. These are the top 10 MD players in the world. Medtronic is there, which is a American Irish company. J&J, Johnson and Johnson, is one of the major player in the medical devices industry, and I was a part of J&J, and I know how this company works, and the culture of the company is very good, extremely good culture. Abbott, Abbott we know for healthcare products, pharmaceutical products, but Abbott is also in MD industry. Siemens Healthineers from Germany, Stryker again from USA, BS, that is Boston Scientific, again from USA, G Healthcare again from USA, Philips is the major player. Whatever MRI machines we see, whatever CT scans we see, whatever X-ray machines we see, is they are from Philips, Dutch company it is. Then BD, it is again from USA, Becton and Dickinson. Baxter we know for parentals, but again Baxter is there, in the medical devices as well. Uh, This is what the volume, and just mark this company, and you can target these companies when you think of your career moving forward. Now, what are the challenges are there in the MD industry? The first, the challenge is like high cost of the devices. The cost of manufacturing is high. Technology uh, cost is again very high, and again there are inadequate reimbursement policies. Now, this what is the meaning of this reimbursement policies? In many of the insurance plans, many devices are not covered, or they're partially covered. For example, I would like to give an example of surgery done by robots. In many insurance company, they do not provide the reimbursement policy for surgery done by robotics, or in terms of some stents, in terms of some heart valves, the companies are not providing the health insurance. This is not only in India, worldwide it is the same scenario, and that is the major challenge, that people are not going or not having this treatment, but still having this high cost and this inadequate policy, still the market is so high. Okay, so that gives a clear idea of the potential of this industry. Then stringent regulations of the government, naturally, when the devices are going to be implanted in your body completely. For example, how drug industry and medical devices differ in one sense. Say, for example, if you take some medicine, it will get metabolized in some time, some days after half life, the drug will wash out from your body. But this is not the case with the medical devices. Medical devices stays with your body, maybe for short term, maybe for long term, or permanently. For example, stent has to be implanted in pulmonary artery, so it has to be there for lifelong time. And heart wall has to be implanted, or mitral valve has to be implanted in your heart. It is going to be there lifetime in your body. Okay. So, for example, surgical sutures are used over your body, so they are going to stay in your body at least for 30 or 45 days, and that makes the difference. And there the game changes, and the rules and regulation becomes again more stringent. Trade protection, this is again another problem. If you are aware about the trade war of China, Europe, and USA, now the biggest problem in the market is even North America, even Europe, even Germany. Irish companies are in the market, but whatever raw material supply is coming, it is coming from China. And European market or European community, USA, they are more concerned about this problem. And that is why still the market has so much potential, but still not doing with that acceleration. Market saturation is another problem. There are many companies in the developed region who are coming, but this is good thing for us, because there are many companies in the market. We have that much job opportunities, and this will give the pricing benefit ultimately to the patients. So these are a few challenges with the industry. Industry is very diverse. Every medical device is unique. Every medical device has its own function. Every medical device functions differently. The material of construction is different for every medical devices. And again, that is why the regulations become different for every medical devices. I'll come on to this point on next slide. Sunil, please change the slide. So, what are the opportunities in this medical devices? Increasing number of clinical diagnosis tests. If you remember, 20 years ago, doctor was the person who was checking the patient, and based on the experience, he was diagnosing. Maybe you are having this fever, maybe you might be having this disease, and doctor was treating the patients. Now the scenario has changed. You go to the doctor, you ask him for symptoms. I'm having fever. I'm having chill. I'm having headache. I'm having body pain. What doctor will do? Doctor will give you some test. Okay, CBC करके लेके आओ, blood test करके लेके आओ, malarial parasite, typhoid test करके आओ, pediatric test करके आओ. Okay, and this is happening more frequently, and this has given a boost to the diagnostic industry. Diagnostic devices also comes under the medical device industry. So similarly, the things are happening that doctors are getting more reliable on, or they're more relying on the diagnostic test. You are having, a cough for last 20 days, doctor will ask you for chest X-ray. If you are having fever for more than 15 days, doctor will ask you for dengue test. If you're having some problem which is persistent since last 3 or 6 months, doctor will ask you for CT scan or MRI. If you say you are having headaches since a month, doctor will ask you for MRI or CT scan. So, the treatment and diagnosis is changing rapidly, and which gives an opportunity for medical devices to grow. Dental and ophthalmic segment is growing very rapidly. How everybody uses contact lenses, everybody uses the specs, the multiple eye solutions, ophthalmic solutions, for cataracts. They're all what are those? What are they're all medical devices. Dental problem is very common nowadays. The kids are having the problems of the tooth because of having their own habits. So this segment is growing very rapidly. Diabetic segment is growing rapidly. Diabetic kits are there, which which will detect the sugar before the meal, after the meal. Okay, the kits are available. It is what they are, again, medical devices. Section of cardiology is growing very rapidly. The diseases of heart are more prevalent. Maybe yesterday you might have seen the news of some actress who died at the age of 42 because of cardiac arrest. Okay, so the problems are occurring more prevalent, and which brings the need of these medical devices to be implemented or to be implanted. AI and robotics, as Sunil rightly said in the last sessions of his slides, uh, AI is coming with the new technologies, and AI will replace maybe many things. Robotics, nowadays, robots are there to do the surgery, which are more precise in cutting, particularly for the area of orthopedic surgery. The robots are being used. The technology of AI has been used. Now CT scans are there, MRI scans are there. The AI has been implemented. AI will do the scanning, AI will do the data analysis so that we can have the accurate data of the patients uh, and the anatomy of the patient, so that we can fix or we can define the sizes. Why I'm telling you, because for example, if an heart wall has to be installed in somebody's heart, then we should know the size of the heart, the size of the artery, and then blockages, and how much the wall has been, become rigid, and accordingly size has to be defined. So this AI will help you to analyze and to define the sizes of the walls. Sometimes, suppose if somebody has to do the knee surgery or hip surgery, the X-ray scans or the multiple scans will be analyzed by AI technology, and then based on it, they will define the size of femur, size of patella, size of the kneecaps, or size of the hip replacement bones. So this is are the multiple sections. I have listed only few, but there are n number of, or you can say the number of organs you have in your body. That much segment can be there in medical devices, because everybody wants to have a better life. Okay, and then they are just wanted to have these medical devices along with them. General surgicals, whatever bandages, surgical sutures, needles, scalpels are there. They are, are there, and that gives a potential market for medical devices. Next slide, please, Sunil. Now, come to the point, the last slide, and maybe, as Sunil said in the beginning, launching your career into regulatory affairs of, I would just modify it, healthcare industry, or else, at least for my case, in the medical devices. Believe me, the future belongs to medical devices. And not only medical devices along with drug products. There is one industry which is selling drug. There is one industry which is selling medical devices. But now, maybe in future, you will see a combination of drug and medical devices. It is already there. For example, in our company, we are having some stents which are coated with drugs. So it's a medical device with drug. We are having some surgical suture which are coated with drugs. So I'm having a medical device with drug. So in that case, the scenario become more complex, because that time I have to comply with both the regulations of drug and medical devices as well. So we call it as a drug device combination, and that is the one of the complex project to work on when I have to deal with the drug and also medical devices. Variety and diversity of medical devices, is another parameter which will give you the opportunity to work in the RA. The reason is every medical device is different, as I said earlier. Say, for example, tablets or capsule or tablet for that matter, even though the drugs will vary, API will vary, but more or less the procedure will remain same, manufacturing will remain same, the test parameters are more or less same, the instrumentalities are there which are same, and documents are more or less same. But what happens with medical devices is every medical device is different, and that is why every medical device has to deal differently. Say, for example, if you work on tablet, you prepare one dossier, or you have a knowledge of tablets of for one product, and if you handle second product, which is a tablet again, it is very easy to understand or easy to work with it. But if you work with stent, then you work with heart valve, then you work with orthological products, when you work with cardio products, when you work with surgical endomechanical products, all are different. So each product has to be treated individually. So dossier of all the products are different, and that becomes an opportunity to work with. Again, just give you an example in terms of number. Say, for example, in pharma company, generally, if a company is having 10 products, they may be having 3 or 4 people who are working with RA. Okay, but in medical devices, it is not the case. The team is very, very big. Like in my team, there are more than 200 people working only for medical devices regulatory affairs. Okay, so here is an opportunity for you, to look at it as a career option into medical devices. The next opportunity or the career option is market competitions. As companies are growing very rapidly. In India, if you see, there are many companies which are coming up. I have heard even MQR is coming. Merrill Life Sciences is there. PM Medical is there. AMS is there. There are many companies which are coming up, and they are growing very rapidly. I can just tell you an example of Merrill. Merrill was a company in 2010 having market share of 1,000 crore rupees, and Merrill today in last 15 years it has reached to 30,000 crore. So in last 10-15 years it has reached from 1,000 crore to 30,000 crore rupees. So you can just imagine 1 to 30,000 crore has grown in last 15 years only. So you can imagine, or you can understand the potential of this industry. AI and robotics, as we have discussed earlier, that uh, it is going to be game changer in future. As Sunil rightly said, we need to adopt these changes. We need to understand this machine learning and AI. I just remember in previous times, maybe some months ago, we are having some discussion that can we have AI in dossier compilation and dossier preparation. And there are many companies like Infosys is there, Cognizant is there. They are working, Tech Mahindra is there. They are working on these projects so that we can take the help of AI in drafting the dossiers. Genetics and biotech products which are coming in the market delivered through medical devices. Vaccines are there. There are many products from biotech industry, genetic background. Okay, product will be there, but you have to deliver them through some device. That is a medical device. So this is again the if you see the research is going on in future. I can tell you one simple example. We are having one product called as non-invasive prenatal test. It is NIPT. So what it does is, if a woman is pregnant, they will withdraw the blood from the woman and they will do the gene sequencing of it. And based on that, they will try to identify before the baby is coming to the world whether there are possibilities of any disease with the baby. So the technology is going that way. Before the baby is coming to the world, people will know, or the mother or the parents can know what types of disease can happen to my baby. Okay, non-invasive prenatal test. So it is again based on gene sequencing. So AI is there, robots are there, medical devices are there. Another example I can tell you is there is one more test we do is called CTP, circulating tumor profile. So, cancer is one disease. Generally what happens is somebody has cancer, it start developing, but when the symptoms start developing, it's too late. And sometimes it is very difficult to save the patient when it is too late. Many of the time it happens that patient has been known with the cancer diagnosis, and it is in stage 3 or stage 4. So this what this CPT will do is CPT will in that case blood will be withdrawn from the patient, and a gene sequencing can be done to identify the tumors in the blood. So we call it as a CPT, circulating tumor profile. This will help you to diagnose the cancer in the early stage. So what I mean to say is the technology is moving in that way, and as I said, it will involve diagnosis, it will involve medical devices, it will involve gene sequencing, it will involve drugs also. So the complex scenario will be there, and here we have a big opportunity, because working with this complex system which involve products of biological, gene sequencing, medical devices, and drugs, and then here we have a huge potential. And believe me, the world is going to change maybe in next 10, 20 years. And as I mentioned in the very beginning of my slide, medical devices are the future of healthcare industry, or I would say medical devices plus drug, along with these technologies of genetics and biotechnology, gene sequencing, will be the future of healthcare industry. So that's it from my side. If you have any questions, you can put in chat box. We are ready to answer you. And I must thank to Sunil and thanks to Julie, I guess, to hold the session. Thank you very much.
Uh,
The session is open
Sir,
for the
we
question and answer.
yes,
Yes,
sir.
please
Yeah.
So we
continue,
have
Julie.
a few questions. So first question is for Sunil, sir. As a life science graduate with no direct pharmaceutical industry experience, what specific entry-level roles in regulatory affairs are more feasible, and what foundation skills should I prioritize?
Okay, so we discussed in one of the slide that the skills which one should have for entering in the regulatory affairs field, that primary you should have communication skills, then you should have basic compilations and writing skills. So if you are having these skills while studying, or if you can like grab these courses, different courses, so there will be definitely an added advantage. So you can enter as a fresher, so you will be having like entry level roles like as a trainee regulatory affairs. So mostly you will be assigned like compilation coordination work. So you need to just coordinate with other stakeholders for documents, what types of raw documents you need for the compilation of those here. So this is just one of the examples. So such roles will be given to you if you are entering as a fresher. And along with this, if you can like pursuing any additional course, so that will be definitely help you for entering in the regulatory affairs field.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Sunil, but I just wanted to add something
No, no,
here,
you can
as Sunil
add.
rightly mentioned.
Definitely.
Yes, because what happens is when it comes to HR for hiring, no, I don't know the audience is what kind of audience is having with us today. But the major problem what happens when as a fresher when you apply, what you should do is you should start searching your job at least 6 months earlier, because it is sometimes gets difficult to get a job immediately after your graduation or graduation. And students start searching their job once they have done their thesis and maybe once they're having their certificate with them. Okay, but what I advise them is to start at least 6 months before you submit your thesis. What happens with HR is, let's say in last month I wanted to hire two candidates. I have given some resumes to the HR, and so what HR did is he just try to find out the matching skills, because HR person is having qualification BA honors and MBA in HR. So maybe HR is not aware what skills are required, and that is why you should read the JD, particularly what skills are mentioned, And are there any additional courses that I have done which are relevant to the job? For example, here in our case, uh, if I want to apply for regulatory affairs and my employer is in chemistry or pharmacology or maybe SOTEX, and there is no relevant skills matching with the resume and the job description. At that time, what happens is HR will straight away reject your resume. So make sure
Yeah.
that your skills are aligned with the job description.
Yeah. Next question, please.
So the next question is for Vijay sir. Which are
Yeah.
top challenges switching from pharma RE to medical devices?
Okay, this is very relevant to me because I was in pharma and then I switched to medical devices. Okay, next 3 4 years are good for you because pharma people are always welcome in medical devices. The reason is pharma regulatory is well established, and it is the we have this belief that the pharma people can work better than any people which are working in MD industries. So as such, there are no challenges. You just need to prove yourself that you can do. That's it. Because I have done it very smoothly. So there is a witness of it. So there are no problems. Even in my company now, people are preferring that a person from pharma background should come to medical device industry. Yeah, the only thing is when you come to medical device industry, the major difference comes. What comes is in pharma industry you have a products that are very similar. As I said, we have tablets, so even only API will change, but process will remain same. Documents will more or less will remain same. But in medical devices, every medical device is different, so you have to treat every device or every product as a different entity. So experience of having in heart wall maybe may not be useful for stents, may not be useful for hip implants or knee implant. So that's a challenge here, but it can happen. Not an issue. Not an issue. In one line, I could say it is very easy to switch from RA to pharma RA to medical devices.
Thank you so much, Sunil sir and Vijay sir. Now, to conclude the session, I would firstly like to thank all for joining today's insightful webinar on launching your career in drug regulatory affairs. We hope the expert guidance shared today has sparked new ideas and given you clarity about opportunities in the regulatory domain. At Inorim Life Sciences, we are not only offering webinars like this, but also provide certificate training programs and career-oriented courses in regulatory affairs, pharmacovigilance, IPR, and market research to help you gain hands-on skills and industry readiness. Stay connected with us for upcoming workshops and continuous learning opportunities. Wishing you all the best for a successful and fulfilling career. Thank you.